1,200 Holsteins receive their morning milking at McCarty Farms in Rexford, Kansas. Their milk is high in volume and butterfat compared to other Holsteins in the dairy industry, and the path their milk will take to the customer is unusual.
We desired a greater connection to the consumer, a greater connection to the people who bought our milk, and a greater valorization of what we felt were our best practices, in the hopes that in doing that, it would create a better economic model.
The evolution of the model originally began when the McCarty family moved in 2000 from Pennsylvania to western Kansas in search of lower feed costs. Yet a decade of low dairy prices kept profits at the family business thin. The pursuit of a different business model led the McCartys to Dannon, the largest yogurt maker in the United States. The McCartys were looking to stabilize a volatile bottom line. Dannon was seeking price stability for its products and had specific needs for its raw milk.
We envision a food system that is a little different than it is today, in the sense that we want to be working with Mother Nature and with the dairy farmers to change how food is made, because that's what shoppers are increasingly looking for.
Changing consumer preferences are driving food producers to design supply chains that allow traceability of their products right down to the farm. Several companies, Dannon among them, have found consumers that are interested in traceability are willing to pay a premium for the privilege.
And more recently, we've just introduced our first non-GMO project verified yogurts, which are verified to the feed of the cows.
80% of the dairy's forage is purchased from the region. The 8,200 milking cows that McCarty Farms milk at operations in Kansas and Nebraska have been on an entirely non-GMO feed regimen since June of 2017. The process of creating a non-GMO feed supply took 18 months and required the McCartys to convince local farmers to change their seed preferences. For the McCartys, the increased costs and record keeping were worth the extra work.
Very warm reception with those farmer partners, and obviously we had to harvest the forages, which takes some time, and then we had to build the entire system of traceability and protocols and whatnot to comply with the standard.
The partnership between Dannon and the McCartys is more than just vendor-client. The bulk milk price the two sides negotiate is based on an open books philosophy. The McCartys open their books and share their costs of production with Dannon in order to earn what both believe to be a fair price. Profitability for both buyer and seller is maintained. Each side believes this open policy is better for both sides of the equation.
Over time, Americans have been looking differently at the foods that they're eating and wanting to know more about where they come from, how they're produced. And no surprise, interest in non-GMO options is growing. And so we, through direct relationships with farms, are now able to provide a non-GMO project verified option in non-organic yogurt that previously was not available. And the only reason we're able to do that is because of the direct relationships we have with dairy farmers and the ability to work with them over a longer term period so that they can plan accordingly for their feed inputs to ensure that they too are non-GMO project verified.
The relationship between Dannon and McCarty Farms also carries environmental and animal welfare expectations. Border areas of the farms are now planted in native grasses to reduce mowing and encourage wildlife. Chemical use on forage ground is limited. Crop rotations are required. The dairy cows have access to feed and shade and are closely monitored for signs of health issues or a change in milk output. The focus on animal welfare has led McCarty Farms to become the first dairy in the nation to earn all 4 Validus certifications, a third-party verification of socially responsible on-farm production practices. Dannon has committed to sourcing milk exclusively from Validus certified dairies.
Animal welfare is something we as a company are very passionate about, the health and well-being of dairy cows. It's also something that consumers are increasingly interested in. And so we believe Validus is the gold standard in the United States. And it's a process that we're so committed to that we put it into the agreements with our dairy suppliers. And it's part of the cost equation that we are also bearing because it's that important to us.
Milk production from McCarty Farms' 4 dairies is trucked to the Rexford, Kansas facility to be condensed before shipment to Dannon Plant number 48 in Dallas, Texas. By evaporating 75% of the water in the bulk milk, Dannon reduces the carbon footprint of its yogurt. The reclaimed water is filtered and reused on the farm for drinking water for the cows, cleaning of the plant, and irrigation of crops. In an arid climate that receives only 15 inches of rain per year, 50,000 gallons of water reclaimed each day represents a large percentage of the dairy's water use. In the short term, the financial details of the changes Dannon and McCarty Farms have made in their supply chain raise the price of doing business. However, in the long term, being accountable to the customer will be the profitable position in a commodity business.
The real goal is, how do I do something that's positive and bigger than me, bigger than us? And I think this model gives you the springboard to doing some things like that.
From Market to Market, I'm Peter Tubbs.